This is the EdExcel GCSE 9-1 Maths Paper 1 from the June 2023 series, and this paper is a higher paper. Question number 1. We have to work out 8.46 divided by 0.15. We can represent this calculation as a fraction. We have 8.46 over 0.15. And if I multiply both the numerator and the denominator by 100, we end up with 846 over 15. And if I divide both the numerator and the denominator by 3, we end up with 282 over 5, which would simplify to 56.4. And therefore, 8.46 divided by 0.15 is 56.4. Question number 2. We have to work out 7 3/8, subtract 2 1/2. Give your answer as a mixed number. Well, first of all, we can convert these mixed numbers into top-heavy fractions. For the 7 3/8, we begin with the 7, we then multiply by 8, we then add the 3, and then we divide this entire thing by 8. And then we are subtracting 2 1/2. So as a top-heavy fraction, we have the 2 times the 2 plus the 1, and then we divide this by 2. So if we work this out, well, 7 times 8 plus 3, and then divide that by 8, we end up with 59 over 8, and then we subtract. Here we have 2 times 2 plus the 1 over 2, so we subtract 5 over 2. And if we write these fractions over a common denominator of 8, well, we have the 59 over 8, and then we subtract the 5 over 2, which is the same as 20 over 8. And so 59 over 8 subtract 20 over 8, that's 39 over 8. How many times does 8 go into 39? Well, that's 4 whole times, and what's left over is 7. So we have 4 and 7/8. So the result of 7 3/8 subtract 2 1/2 is 4 and 7/8. Question number 3. A cube has a total surface area of 150 centimeters squared. We have to work out the volume of the cube. Here is our cube. We can find out the area of each face. If the total surface area is 150 centimeters squared, then the area of each square face, that will equal 150 divided by 6, because we have 6 identical squares. So the area of each face is 25 centimeters squared. We can now find out the length of each side. If the area of the square is 25 centimeters squared, then the length of each side will equal the square root of 25, which is 5. So the length of each side is 5 centimeters. So the volume of the cube then will equal 5 cubed, which is 125. So the volume of the cube is 125 centimeters cubed. Question number 4. The table shows information about the daily rainfall in a town for 60 days. We've got the rainfall in millimeters. We also have the frequency. We have to draw a frequency polygon for this information. Our first step is to find the midpoints of each of these intervals. The midpoint from 0 to 5 is 2.5. The midpoint from 5 to 10 is 7.5. The midpoint from 10 to 15 is 12.5. The midpoint from 15 to 20 is 17.5. The midpoint from 20 to 25 is 22.5. We are now required to plot these on our frequency polygon. We have 2.5 and 8 and 7.5 and 24. That is shown here. Then we have the 12.5 and the 13, so we join that line up. Then we have the 17.5 and the 11, and then we have the 22.5 and the 4. Here is our completed frequency polygon. Question 5. We have a set of numbers 1 to 10. A are the odd numbers, B are the square numbers. For part A, we have to complete the Venn diagram for this information. Which numbers are the odd numbers and square numbers? Well, you can see that is the 1 and that is the 9. So we have 1 and 9. What are the odd numbers then? Well, for the odd numbers, we have the 3, the 5, the 7. So we have 3, 5, and 7. What are the square numbers? Well, 1 and 9 went in the union section. 4 is left over. Then we have the other numbers which do not belong in A and do not belong in B. Those are 2, 6, 8, and 10. Here is the completed Venn diagram. A number is chosen at random from the universal set. Part B, we have to find the probability that this number is in the set B dash, which means not in the set of B. Well, we have 10 numbers in total, which means our probability will be out of 10. And how many numbers do not belong in B? We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 numbers that do not belong in B. So the probability is then equal to 7 over 10. Question number 6. The scatter graph shows information about the ages and weights of some babies. We have the age in months and the weight in kilograms. Part A, describe the relationship between the age and the weight of the babies. Well, what we see is, as the age increases, the weight also increases. And so therefore, as the age increases, the weight also increases. Part B, another baby has a weight of 5.8 kilograms. Using the scatter graph, we have to find an estimate for the age of this baby. Our first step is to draw a line of best fit. And with the line of best fit, we want roughly the same amount of points above the line as we have below the line. Something like this. We are told in the question, the baby has a weight of 5.8 kilograms. So 5.8 kilograms is here. So we draw a line across from the 5.8 and then we draw a line down. And so what you see is the age of the baby in months is 4. Question number 7. The price of a holiday increases by 20%. This 20% increase adds £240 to the price of the holiday. You have to work out the price of the holiday before the increase. Well, what we know is the 20% would correspond to the increase of £240. We want to work out the price of the holiday before the increase. that corresponds to 100%. Now from 20% to 100%, we multiply by 5, so we also have to multiply the £240 by 5, and in doing so, we end up with 1,200. So the price of the holiday before the increase is £1,200. Question number 8. The diagram shows a solid cylinder on a horizontal floor. The cylinder has a volume of 1,200 centimeters cubed and a height of 40 centimeters. The cylinder exerts a force of 90 newtons on the floor. We have to work out the pressure on the floor due to the cylinder. We are given pressure equals force over area. Before we do anything else, we are required to work out the area. To work out the area, that's equal to the volume divided by the height. So we have 1,200 divided by 40, which is equal to 30. So the area is equal to 30 centimeters squared. We can now find out the pressure. The pressure is equal to the force over the area. So we have 90 for the force, the area is 30, therefore the pressure is 3 newtons per centimeter squared. Question number 9. We have this straight line segment, which is given by 2y equals 3x subtract 22. We have this straight line segment, which is given by 2 subtract 2y equals x. We have to use these graphs to solve the simultaneous equations 2 subtract 2y equals x and 2y equals 3x subtract 22. Now, where the graphs intersect will be the solution to the simultaneous equations, and they intersect here. You can see here we have an x coordinate of 6, a y coordinate of -2. So we have solutions x equals 6, y equals -2. Question number 10. Here is a pentagon. We've got the angle A, 120. This angle B is currently unknown. This angle C is 110. The angle D is 135. And the angle E is currently unknown. We are given that the angle AED is equal to 4 times the angle ABC. We have to work out the size of the angle AED. You must show all your working. To begin with, if this angle B is given by x, this angle E will be 4 times this, in other words, 4x. What we can now do is find out the sum of the angles in a pentagon. We've got 5 sides, so we have the sum of the angles in a pentagon equaling 180 multiplied by 5 subtract 2. It turns out we get 540. So now, all of these angles added together give us 540. So we have the 120 plus the x plus the 110 plus the 135 plus the 4x. That's all equal to 540. And if we simplify this, we get 365 plus 5x equals 540. Subtracting 365 from both sides, we end up with 5x equals 175, in which case x is 35. So now that we know what x is, we can now find the angle E by multiplying it by 4. So the angle AED is equal to 4 multiplied by the 35, which is 140. So we have 140 degrees. Question number 11, we have to write 6x to the 5, y cubed all squared over 3x squared y to the 7 multiplied by 4xy to the -3 in the form ax to the b, y to the c, where a, b and c are integers. First of all, for the numerator, we can write that as 6 squared multiplied by x to the 5 squared multiplied by y cubed squared. And for the denominator, we have 3 times by the 4, and then we have x squared multiplied by x, which is the same as x to the 2 plus 1, and then we have y to the 7 multiplied by y to the negative 3, which is the same as y to the 7 plus negative 3. So if we simplify the top, 6 squared is 36, x to the 5 squared, that's x to the 10, y cubed squared, that's y to the 6, and for the denominator, 3 times 4 is 12, x to the 2 plus 1 is x to the 3, y to the 7 plus negative 3, that's y to the 4. And if we simplify this as much as we can, 36 divided by 12, that's 3, and then we have x to the 10 divided by x cubed, that's x to the 10 subtract 3, and then we've got y to the 6 divided by y to the 4, which is the same as y to the 6 subtract 4. And if we simplify this, we end up with 3x to the 7 y squared. Question number 12. Martha plays a game twice. The probability tree diagram shows the probabilities that Martha will win or lose each game. We have to find the probability that Martha will lose at least one game. Well, the probability that she loses at least one game, that's equal to 1 subtract the probability of winning the game twice. So the probability that she wins the game twice, we've got to consider winning in the first game and winning in the second game. So we have 1 subtract 5/8 multiplied by 2/9. This is the same as 1 subtract 10 over 72, which is 62 over 72. And it turns out we get 31 over 36. And so therefore the probability that we will lose at least one game is 31 over 36. Question number 13. Y is directly proportional to x. Y is 24 when x is 1.5. We have to work out the value of y when x is 5. If y is directly proportional to x, that means y is equal to some constant a multiplied by x. Now we know that when x is 1.5, y is 24, and if we substitute these into our equation, we have 24 equals 1.5a. And if we solve for a, we find a to equal 16. And if a equals 16, that means y equals 16x. So therefore, we are required to find the value of y when x is 5. So when x is 5, y is equal to 16 multiplied by 5, which is 80. Which means y is 80. Question number 14, part A. We have to write 1 over 16 in the form 4 to the n, where n is an integer. Well, 1 over 16 is the same as 1 over 4 squared. Now, because we have 1 over something, we can rewrite this as 4 to the negative 2, as we see here. Part B, we have to work out the value of 8 to the 5 over 3, subtract 9 to the 3 over 2. 8 to the 5 over 3 is the same as the cube root of 8. Then we take this to the power of 5, and then we subtract the square root of 9, and then we raise this to the power of 3. So we have the cube root of 8, which is 2, and then we raise this to the 5th power. And then we've got the square root of 9, which is 3, and then we raise this to the 3rd power. So we have 2 to the 5 subtract 3 cubed, which is equal to 32 subtract 27, which is 5. So the value of this calculation is 5. Question number 15. The equation of line L1 is y equals 2x subtract 5. The equation of line L2 is 6y plus kx subtract 12 equals 0. L1 is perpendicular to L2. You have to find the value of k, you must show all your working. First of all, we can find out the gradient of L1. If we consider y equals mx plus c, the gradient of L1 is equal to 2. Now, if L1 is perpendicular to L2, we can conclude then that the gradient of L2 is the negative reciprocal of 2, which is negative 1/2. Now, if I consider this line L2, which is given by 6y plus kx subtract 12 equals 0, we can rearrange this to find out what y is. We have 6y equals negative kx plus 12, and if I divide through by 6, we find that y equals negative k over 6x plus 2. Now the gradient of L2 then is negative k over 6. So we have this negative k over 6, which is the gradient of L2, which I can set equal to negative 1/2. That's the gradient of L2. So we find then that k equals 3. So therefore k equals 3. Question number 17. We have to make x the subject of the formula y equals 4 multiplied by 2x minus 7 over 5x plus 3. Our first step is to multiply both sides by 5x plus 3. So we have y multiplied by 5x plus 3, which is equal to 4 multiplied by 2x minus 7. If we expand the brackets, on the left hand side we have 5xy plus 3y, and on the right hand side we have 8x subtract 28. Our next step is to factor. Question number 17. We have to make x the subject of the formula y equals 4 multiplied by 2x minus 7 over 5x plus 3. Our first step is to multiply both sides by 5x plus 3. And in doing so, we end up with y multiplied by 5x plus 3, which is equal to 4 multiplied by 2x minus 7. On the left hand side and on the right hand side, if we expand the brackets, we end up with 5xy plus 3y equals 8x subtract 28. We will gather everything with an x on one side, everything that doesn't involve an x on the other side. So we have 8x subtract 5xy equals 3y plus 28. Everything with an x is on the left, everything that doesn't involve an x is on the right. Next, we can factorize the left hand side. X is the common factor, and what goes inside the bracket is 8 subtract 5y. So we have x multiplied by 8 subtract 5y. This is equal to 3y plus 28. And now if I divide both sides by 8 subtract 5y, we can see that x is equal to 3y plus 28 over 8 minus 5y. Question number 18. 7 kilograms of carrots and 5 kilograms of tomatoes cost a total of 480 pence. The cost of 1 kilogram of carrots to the cost of 1 kilogram of tomatoes is 5 to 9. We have to work out the cost of 1 kilogram of carrots and the cost of 1 kilogram of tomato. First of all, we have 7c plus 5t equals 480. That's from the first sentence. We are given the ratio of c to t being 5 to 9. That's from the second sentence. And we can rearrange this to say that c over t is equal to 5 over 9. From which we can see then 9c is equal to 5t. And if we rearrange this, you will find 9c subtract 5t equals 0. I've got equation 1 here, 7c plus 5t equals 480. And equation 2, 9c subtract 5t equals 0. If I add these equations together, we will eliminate the t's, leaving us with 7c plus 9c, which is 16c, that's equal to 480, which means c equals 30. And if c equals 30, we can now find out what t is. So, we've got 9 times by 30 equals 5t, and if I divide through by 5, I would have 9 times by 6, which is 54. So t is 54. Meaning, carrots is 30 pence, tomatoes is 54 pence. Question number 19. The menu in a restaurant has starters, main courses and desserts. There are 5 starters, there are 12 main courses, and there are X desserts. There are 420 ways to choose 1 starter, 1 main course and 1 dessert. We have to work out the value of X. Well, we have 5 times by 12 times by X. This is the total number of combinations. And that's equal to 420, which means x is equal to 420 over 5 times by 12, which is 7. So x is 7, meaning there are 7 desserts. Question number 20. For x being greater or equal than 0, the functions f and g are such that f of x equals 3x plus 4 and g of x equals square root x plus 2 over 5. You have to find the inverse of g. If we replace the g with y, we have y equals square root x plus 2 over 5. If I multiply through by 5, we end up with 5y equals square root x plus 2, from which we can see then square root x equals 5y subtract 2, from which we see x is equal to 5y subtract 2 all squared. If I then swap the x and y, we have y equals 5x subtract 2 all squared, and if I replace the y with inverse of g, we can conclude inverse g equals 5x minus 2 all squared. Part B, we have to solve g of f of x equals 3. We've got f of x equals 3x plus 4, and g of x which equals square root x plus 2 over 5. So therefore g of f of x is equal to the square root of 3x plus 4 plus 2 over 5. So now I need to set this equal to 3. So I've got square root of 3x plus 4 plus 2 over 5 equals 3. Multiplying through by 5, I've got square root of 3x plus 4 plus 2 equals 15. So square root of 3x plus 4 equals 13. So 3x plus 4 equals 13 squared. 3x plus 4 is equal to 169. So 3x is equal to 165, in which case x is 55. Question number 21. A, B and D are points on a circle with centre O. CDE is a tangent to the circle at D. We have to work out the size of the angle ADC. Write down any circle theorems you use. First of all, we can find the angle BAD, which is this angle here, and that's equal to 64 divided by 2, which is 32. And that's because the angle at the centre is twice the angle at the circumference. So this angle here is 32 degrees. Now we can find out this angle here, recognizing we have angles in a triangle. So 180 take away the 32 take away the 51 is 97, which means this angle is 97. And because we've got vertically opposite angles, this angle here is also 97. And now we can find out what this angle here is, again based upon the fact that we've got angles in a triangle summing up to 180. If I do 180 subtract 64 subtract 19 to 7, I get 19. So this angle here is 19. Now what we are required to find is the angle ADC, which is this angle here. Now this angle here will equal 90 subtract 19, which is 71. So this angle here is 71 degrees. The tangent is perpendicular to the radius, so we've got 71 degrees. Question 22. ABCDEFGH is a cuboid. AF is 6.8 and FC is 13.6. We have to work out the size of the angle between FC and the plane ABCD. First of all, we have AF, which is this line here, equaling 6.8 centimeters. Then we have FC, which is given by 13.6 centimeters. We need to work out the angle between FC and the plane ABCD. what I am required to find first of all is this line over here, and the angle I need to find is this angle here. So we've got this angle we can work out. We've got the hypotenuse and the opposite, so we can use sine. So we've got the sine of ACF, which is equal to the opposite 6.8 of the hypotenuse 13.6, which is a half. So ACF is 30 degrees. So we've got 30 degrees. Question number 23. We have to write 3 root 3 over 4 subtract root 3 subtract 2 over root 3 in the form a root 3 plus b over c, where a, b and c are integers. Well, we have to rationalise the denominator. So if I have this 3 root 3 over 4 subtract root 3, I need to multiply both the numerator and the denominator by 4 plus root 3, as we see here. And then I subtract 2 over root 3. Again, I need to rationalise, so I need to multiply both the numerator and the denominator by root 3. So let's see what we can simplify. I've got 3 root 3 times by 4, which is 12 root 3. And then I've got 3 root 3 times by root 3, which is the same as 3 times by 3, because root 3 times root 3 is 3. On the bottom, I've got a difference of 2 squares. I've got 4 times 4, which is 16, and then I've got root 3 times root 3, which is just 3. So I've got 16 subtract 3. And then I subtract, well, here I have on the top 2 root 3, and on the bottom I've just got root 3. So now I can simplify this even further. So I've got 12 root 3 plus 9 over 13, and then I subtract 2 root 3 over 3. And I want this common denominator. The common denominator will be 39. So I need to multiply this by 3. I need to multiply this by 13. So I've got 36 root 3 plus 27 over 39. Subtract 26 root 3 over 39. Now that I've got this common denominator, I've got 36 root 3, subtract 26 root 3, which is just 10 root 3, and then I add the 27, and then I divide by 39. So I've got 10 root 3 plus 27 over 39. Question number 24. We have to find the set of possible values of x for which 4x squared subtract 25 is less than 0, and 12 subtract 5x subtract 3x squared is greater than 0. You must show all your working. First of all, the 4x squared subtract 25, we can rewrite that as a difference of 2 squares. We have 2x plus 5 multiplied by 2x subtract 5. And so therefore we have the inequality 2x plus 5 multiplied by 2x minus 5 is less than 0. And if we solve this, we have minus 2.5, which is less than x, which is less than 2.5. Let's now focus on the 12 minus 5x minus 3x squared. What this is equivalent to is the negative of 3x squared plus 5x subtract 12. And we can rewrite the 5x as 9x subtract 4x. So we have negative of 3x squared plus 9x subtract 4x subtract 12. And if I factorise by grouping, well, I have negative of 3x multiplied by 3x plus 3 subtract 4 lots of x plus 3, which is the same as the negative of 3x subtract 4 multiplied by x plus 3. And if I multiply this negative into this bracket, we have 4 subtract 3x multiplied by x plus 3. So now I'm solving the inequality 4 subtract 3x multiplied by x plus 3 is greater than 0. And if I solve this, I've got minus 3, which is less than x, which is less than 4 over 3. And therefore, combining this with this inequality, we see that we've got minus 2.5, which is less than x, which is less than 4 over 3.